So a very good evening, boys and girls, and welcome back to another video. And you join me in an old deserted medieval village called Warren Percy, just over the border from East Yorkshire in North Yorkshire. All that's really left of this place is this church and the graveyard, and I kind of thought it'd be a little bit of fun to take some photographs of it and to see what we can do. After a very challenging walk down through gates that are there and exist for, well, absolutely no reason at all, and to finding signs of my arch nemesis, a lot of cow droppings, and eventually the realisation that I am not alone. Hopefully nothing goes wrong. Let's get stuck in and take some photographs of the area with the omsystem OM1 Mark II. So the camera's in aperture priority mode for this, so let me extend this, and we're going to go to the 8mm side of things. Let's see what we can do. Oh, that's going to get plenty of this church in there. So I've just kind of got the idea of having the walls coming in with just the end of it, just there is just the main focal point. There's a slight archway there with some darker areas. We've got some sky poking out between some of the windows, and there's going to be a lot of sky in this photograph anyway, so I'm hoping the dynamic range on this camera does hold up. So let's have a look and see what we can do. So we're F8, I don't like F8. Let's have a look, let's change things up a little bit. Why are we on? There we go. F5.6, 160 per second, and ISO 200 on the focus, right on the wall at the back. There we go. First photograph taken. Here it is. So one of the things that really has caught my eye about this little spot is some of these windows. Obviously the glass is long gone, but just the architecture and the design of these windows themselves, they look really kind of cool, and you can shoot outside into the graveyard, which is what I thought might work well. So I'm hoping this photograph did actually work, but wow, there is some architecture. We've really kind of lost something with modern design, haven't we? So having spent a good amount of time around the other side of this church where all the gravestones are, I wanted to get an external photograph of it. And I think this is probably the cleaner of the two options. There's less distractions and less clutter. I thought adding the gravestones into a photograph might have been quite nice, but there was nothing really clean, there's nothing easy, and there's nothing that sort of stood out. So I think we'll go for a slightly more cleaner looking photograph of the church. I just need to figure out where I'm going to stand, and after that I want to get a little bit of height, a little bit of altitude, which means taking a walk to where the dinosaurs are, the cows, the made of cows, the cows that eat me. I don't like cows, so that's going to be easier said than done, and I was kind of hoping some light would, well, materialise. It hasn't. So a little bit of a walk down the bank away from the church. I've come across these apple trees. Now, the trees themselves I'm not overly interested in, but I'm wondering if we can't use the apples on the floor, focus on them, and blare the church out a little bit on the hill, just have it as a background. Just against these apples, after all, you know, it is autumn now, so I kind of thought it might be a seasonally appropriate photograph. It's just finding a number of apples now that are going to work, so let's have a little look around and see what we can't find. Alright, so I think the apples idea is actually going to work. I found a cluster of 3 of them. I think we're going to try and take a photograph of those, and the best way I can do it is with the wide angle lens, pointing down at the apples and just finessing until I find something that I like. So there's a group of 3 of them there. I think we'll go for these 3. I'm going to have these nice and large in the foreground in the frame, and the church just dissolving off into nothing really in the background. So let's have a look. How big do we want these apples? I like that. So I'm going to focus on the farthest of the apples. Everything else is just going to fall around it. So let's have a look. There we go. I hope that photograph looks alright. Here it is. So with the impending fear of facing the cows approaching, and a need for photographing this church at a slightly wider angle, I attempted a couple of compositions. One was a little bit further away, but there was something missing from it. I tried to photograph extremely close to the church, but it didn't feel right. In the end, I opted for a slightly wider composition. I used the two fences either side to try and frame the church. I think this worked out better. I hope you like the photograph. So I've got myself perched up on this hillside overlooking the church for the sort of larger landscape photograph that I'm hoping for, but there's a lot of cattle and they're all looking at me. I really don't like this, so yeah, I have a small but not insignificant fear of cattle. I don't know where it's come from, probably my childhood and more than likely my parents' fault. But let's get on, there's some lovely autumn colour behind. There's also some farm equipment across the valley as well. It might be fun to try and capture some of that. So let's keep our heads on a swivel and hopefully we don't get eaten. So let's have a look and let's just see what we can do. There is the threat of a little bit of light coming through. The clouds are thinning, but I don't think it's going to be enough to light this scene up in golden hour light. All of the clear seems to be behind me, whereas the sun is setting off to my left hand side, which is a bit of a shame, but hey, it is what it is. So the camera is still in aperture priority mode. I like that when I'm walking around taking photos. I don't have to worry about camera settings as much. So let's have a look. Now there's a tractor in the background of this shot. F4, let's go f5.6, this is my go-to, f5.6, ISO 200, an 80th of a second, and that tractor just moved out of shot a little bit behind the tree. It's back again. Let's add that in there as well. I like that, just a little bit of juxtaposition, the modern farm machinery against the old medieval church. So the cows for the most part are behaving themselves and they've kind of ran off down the other end of the field, I think, as I just see some more through the trees a lot closer than I thought they were. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed today's video. A little bit of micro Four Thirds meets medieval history. It's a spot that I want to come to again. I want to try this as a nice winter scene, hopefully in the next few weeks. Now autumn has bit, we'll start to get some frost, and I think a little bit of frost and some low winter light on this spot, probably from where I'm standing right now, may make for a really nice photograph. So I'm treating today's video as a little bit of a retcon, just a little bit of a seeing what's around, and I think I found a spot for a nice photograph. But I think a nice frosty morning with some low winter sun and we may come back and visit this one. So with that being said, if you did enjoy the video, please do give it a like and a thumbs up. It really does help the video and it helps to bring new viewers to see my content. And if you're new here and you see me for the very first time and you want to see more micro Four Thirds content every single week, well, why not hit that subscribe button down below? Especially if you'd like to come back to Warren Percy, hopefully when there's no cows and we might get a nice winter scene. But until that one, I'm going to run the gauntlet past the dinosaurs. Fingers crossed. I'll just say peace and goodbye.